Hey guys, build report for the Madbean Nom Nom, which is a Phase 90 clone. This one has been on the to-do list for I cannot remember how long, and I only just finished it recently, but it was still a couple of months ago, so I'm hoping that the information's not muddled or incorrect. I'm trying to remember what I actually did. So the actual build report's pretty straightforward because, well, it's just going to be a physical build report. There's not going to be much. I'm not going to go over schematics in this one because I'm not comfortable going over a schematic of a phaser because they're quite complicated. And I'm definitely not going to be doing a in-depth look at the matching of JFETs at the moment because it'll get too in-depth and confusing with that as well. So if I'm going to do a JFET matching video, I'll do that separately. I match my JFETs with the DCA. Another thing that it does exceptionally well, I've spoke about this in the last few videos, and Jez from Peak Electronics, he sent this one in for me to play around with on the bench and to talk to you guys about. And again, it comes recommended because you can curve trace these JFETs and you can match them off a curve trace, which is, I don't know, probably more accurate than just using a circuit that just picks one particular value. Probably. It's very, you'd think that a device that is, just trying to think of how I'm going to phrase this sentence, used as the analogy of a garden hose with a clamp, like the gate acts like a clamp on the drain and the source, and it sounds like a really simple device, but once you start getting into the nitty gritty, it can get quite confusing. And you will probably shuffle towards the edge of towards the edge of this park bench away from me if I start going on about some of the details with that. It's quite confusing. Anyway, so yeah, I'll do a different video on that. But you can use DCA to match the JFETs. I did it, and what I was measuring was in line with what I was hearing. So when I'd get 4 on the graph that I thought were matched correctly, I'd check them with audibly, and they would sound the same. They would sound like the phasing was wider, which is really, I suppose, the point of matching them. You need to have the same on and off, VGS on and VGS off, so that you get a larger swell. If that's what you want, you might not want that. You may want a subtle, small amount of swell. Personal preference. I wanted the larger sort of swell, which is what I've got. So yeah, it was really pretty simple with the actual physical appearance of it. The most obvious thing about it, of course, is the front. Came up really well. I'm actually going to get it in the sun because with the powder coat job, I think I've shown you this before, there's a bit of a flick in it, and it kind of looks like a star field really, which goes well with the sign on the front. You may be thinking that I've converted to some sort of satanic cult, but that's not what that symbol is on the front. Some of you guys might recognize it. It's actually been the middle of winter here, and I've got this kind of, I don't know, it's like this little sort of personal tradition in winter. I read, just of late, I read a bit of H.P. Lovecraft and play some of the H.P. Lovecraft type games, whether that be a computer game, which I don't really have much time for computer games anymore, unfortunately, but some of the board games and things as well. Elder Sign, the card game. See the symbol? Yeah, that's what I've tried to copy on the front there. So yeah, in the middle of winter, it's just like this sort of little thing that I do with H.P. Lovecraft stuff because it gets all cold and miserable here, and just like to read a bit of some horror during that time of year. It's a bit more sort of in tune with the season, a bit more thematic. It's not so thematic, playing a horror board game, you know, on the beach in your board shorts in the tropics. Just doesn't sort of make sense, does it? Anyway, that's where that came from. So yeah, winter was a few months back. From the recording of this video, it's probably going to be much further back by the time I actually upload it. But yeah, that's where that came from. So the epoxy job on the front, I'm so close to doing a tutorial on. It's not funny because I've pretty much decided the method that I think works for me, and hopefully you guys will appreciate as well, because often when I do this sort of stuff, it's not just about me. I try and do it in a way that I know that you guys will like it, and particularly beginner friendly sort of stuff as well. If you look at some tutorials on epoxying, you will in the vein of H.P. Lovecraft, go insane, because they are just so, there's just so much stuff to do. You'd spend your afternoon just doing one epoxy job. But the way that I'm doing it's much quicker, much simpler, and much less messy. But we'll wait for the tutorial on that one. So I think that came up really good. I mean, you could put anything under an epoxy job and it will come up good. That's why I like doing it. It just showcases whatever you've got under it in such a splendid way. There's just no comparison for gloss jobs. See, look at that reflection in the mirror, in the window reflection. It's a bit like a mirror, I suppose. Yeah, it's great. I love it. It's something that I've persisted doing just because when that turns out right, it's just perfect. Let's take a look on the inside, perhaps on the bench. So the inside's probably a little bit less interesting, to be honest. It's just a straight up build, pretty straightforward. You've got Madbean's, he's got a sort of standard way of doing his wiring these days. Go straight off the board, but you can test it off board without having to wire it up, so don't be afraid of getting a build that you can't test before you wire up. You can do it quite simply, actually. Pretty sure you just go off plus minus in out, and just like you normally would, and then when you get around to wiring it up, you follow his diagram to wire that up. It's a little bit different to usual, but it's pretty simple. Yeah, it's unfortunate that it took me so long to get this video going. I've had this board for probably, I think before my daughter was even born. I've had it for quite a while, so you can't get it anymore, which kind of sucks. You have to look on his projects to see if he's got another one, perhaps for a phaser, or if you can locate one. But you know, it will probably show you what a phase 90 sounds like as well, if that's what you're interested in too. But the layout worked okay. That I had to be careful of the pot, because it's a bit unusual. It actually pops out the top there, so the whole PCB goes down flat and it will touch the enclosure. So you just have to make sure that's shielded, as I've mentioned a million times in the past. That's the Nom Nom switch, which I'm pretty sure increases the intensity of the phase of the effect. I actually haven't even had much time to use it. And the miniature DC jack, mini monos, get those on my web store. I use them all the time, as I've said in the past, because they're so small. They're almost there. I always stuff up drilling. I'm always too close, or you know, do something wrong. So when they're smaller, you got more room, you got more margin for error. And that's really it. I've got those blue tacked in there for the moment because I was trying to work out which JFET I was going with, and I settled for one I thought sounded the best. Get the sun out of the reflection of the backplate there. MMBF 5485, which I have on my store as well. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Matched them with the DCA, assembled it, worked first go again. Been very lucky lately. I've had a lot of complicated pedals work first shot, which is a lovely feeling. And that is, I think, pretty much it. No mods, just pretty much you got to bias those in. He's got a in his build report, he tells you how to do that. It's not for an exciting conversation for the video, so I'm not going to bother going into it. It's just a matter of adjusting one, then adjusting the other, until you get it to where you like it. A little bit of distortion with this one, which is interesting, which you're going to hear in the sound demo because, well, I don't know why. I think it's a artifact of JFET phasing. I thought it was an issue. I was looking it up, and I found a lot of people complaining about distortion and some of the extreme lengths you need to go to get rid of it. Even the commercial pedals, people were saying that they were getting distortion with it, and others were saying yes, that's perfectly normal. Never heard of phase 90 in the flesh, so I don't know. But yeah, apparently it's part and parcel of a phaser. Some reason why some people like it. Small stone doesn't do that. It doesn't have the distortion in it. It doesn't do it for some reason. But let you more technical, apt people talk about that. Like I said, don't know much about phasers, so not going to go into too much of in-depth conversation as far as that goes. So anyway, we'll just go to the sound demo now. You can have a listen to it. Probably do a comparison with the small stone. What the hell? Just so you can hear the difference. If you're thinking about building a phaser, you can decide which one you want to go for. I've only got the tone pad small stone, so we'll probably pitch it up against that maybe. Anyway, let's have a listen to it next in the sound demo. Thanks for watching this one. If you like the video, please give me a thumbs up. I very much appreciate it. And I also appreciate you watching my channel. Thank you very much. I'll see you in the sound demo. Cheers.